All right. I feel a little bit naughty today because, to be honest, I feel like I'm just the person pulling everything together. Over the last 6 months, we've had quite a few awesome sermons, and I feel like there's all these themes, and I'm just pulling them together. So I'm stealing most of everyone else's work. I'm happy to say so. All right, the Lord is my shepherd. If you get nothing else out of today, you need to know that you're a sheep. That's it. You're a sheep. Maybe coloured in like these ones. Oh, I do need to thank my daughter, Katie. I need to thank Katie. She has helped me prepare so much for today. And so even though she's not up here, she has been a fantastic help. And she chose this picture. Great choice. All right. We're going to start this morning with a little clip. It's just a 3-minute clip, but it really captures the heart of what I want to talk about today. So if you listen to the clip and you get what he's talking about, it's by a guy called Ken Helser, and it's called God Time, and Charles is going to organise that for me.
I was in Australia, a long way from home, and tired, had a lot of ministry, and had a ways to go. Outside my window, there was this kookaburra would wake me up every morning about 4:30. I think God sent him. Who could sleep through that? Not me. I grabbed me a cup of coffee and laid the Bible in my lap, and I said, "Good morning, Jesus. I need you. Where are we going to go today?" And the Lord said Psalm 23. And, I reacted with a sigh like, oh, I already know that. And I caught myself. Or maybe God caught me. And I said, Lord, I'm sorry. Would you just come down and reveal yourself as shepherd and me as sheep as never before? I've never read Psalm 23 the same way since or ever again, I don't think. It was glorious. It was so beautiful that I began to sing this little tune, and I was afraid I'd forget it, so I jotted it down, and it came out like this. Oh God, let your love flow. Oh God, let your love flow like a river, like a river. Let it flow through me. When I was a young man, if I spent 10 minutes with God, I thought that was quite an accomplishment. But he's taught me, the Spirit has taught me over the years, how to just hang out with the Lord and listen to him and go to all kind of places and do things I never dreamed of. Sadly, so many people who I've met and known, they only do their God time out of guilt, as something you're supposed to do to be a Christian. When what's really out there is a God time you can really enjoy. That's all I want to do is come be with you and just share with you what I've learned in 40 years, how to have a God time that's so good that he doesn't want it to end. I don't either.
It's good. So this morning I want to talk to you about alone time with God. A few weeks ago we had Rob preaching, awesome, and he preached on intimacy, and it really got me thinking, what is intimacy? And I looked it up, and these are some of the words I came across. Intimacy is personal, it's private, it's secret, it's close. It's warm, it's dear, it's friendly. It's first-hand. And I've realised lately that... Where's your father? I realised lately it's easy to think that I'm building a relationship with God, when in actual fact I'm just learning about it. You know, we live in such a blessed time. We have so many resources. I can Google any scripture and there is a dozen or so or more different ideas on it, people's thoughts. You know, great revelations, fantastic. You know, there's devotions, there's so many different Bibles we've got. People are writing books all the time. There's movies, there's podcasts, and there's so much about God. And they are fantastic tools. They are awesome. They're great resources. And they will make you wise, but they will not create or develop an intimate relationship with God. The secret strength to every Christian's life is the ability to spend time with Him. Christianity is about first-hand experience. It's about the one-on-one, intimate relationship. And being a Christian to me is more about what happens when no one's looking than it is about what everyone sees. You know, I was thinking about this secret place, this one-on-one alone time, and I wanted to call it prayer. But it's so much more than that. The word prayer has just become so not big enough in Christian circles. My secret place is not where I go to throw my shopping list of requests up at God. It's not where I go because that's what a good Christian should do. It's an exciting place where I sit and I wait and I listen and I seek and I find out what God's whispering to me. What He's whispering to me, not to anyone else, to me. And it's a private conversation, but it's a private conversation that everyone can have. You know, I find something amazing. When I have this alone time with God, I start noticing something very strange about me. I find that when I'm trying really hard to be nice, suddenly I just am nice. And I find when I'm trying really hard to be kind, or where I was trying really hard to be kind, I suddenly am just finding that I'm kind. When I was finding it really hard to love someone, when I have one-on-one time with God, I find that I just love them. It's weird, it's strange. Something's happening to me. Where I find that without my one-on-one time, I feel tense or confused or worried. I find once I start doing this alone time, I find this amazing thing happens. I'm just peaceful. It's just like there's something inside of me that just knows everything's going to be okay. And where I've struggled to be soft and gentle, and it is part of my nature, I'm not always soft and gentle, a bit more slap you across the face, then I find that something strange has begun to happen. I find that it's like someone's got sandpaper on my sharp edges and they're just working on them, and I find that I'm becoming a little softer. You know, this alone time, it's a secret weapon, guys. And the more time you spend with God, one-on-one with God, you'll find that crazy things begin to happen. You'll find that when you spend your one-on-one time with God, He soaks into you like He soaks into a sponge. And then you go out and you do your day and it's like God just sort of oozes from you. Now, I know by now half of you are switched off, so I'm going to change tact. If you didn't get that last point, I'm going to hammer it. If you are mathematically minded, this is it. God plus alone time plus you equals awesome you. Thank you. Now, some of you aren't mathematically minded. That's okay. I'm even going to do a demo. And I'm going to get Joel and William to help me if they're still in the building and haven't done a runner. Oh, very good. It's this simple, guys. Follow the instructions. We have God. He is the water in the bucket. Come on this side, William, so everyone can see. Okay, everyone, what is the water? God. The bucket is time. Very good. And this is You? Okay, let's see what happens when we spend time with God and we add you to it. We hopefully, I'd leave it in there for a bit, gee. 2-minute prayer, goodness gracious. All right, let's see what happens. So lift it up, keep it over the bucket for the, Okay, now what happens in the rest of your day from this point is this. As you get squeezed, what's coming out? God's coming out. This is amazing. Oh, get back in. It's the next day. Goodness gracious. Okay, more alone time with God. And we start doing our day. Good. Well done, guys. And as we do our day, we have what coming out? Very good. Now, I want you to, no, keep it out this time. I want you to squeeze it. Okay, we're going a week now. We're going a week. Keep going. You do it. It's all right. Keep going. Squeeze. Lift it up high. All right. Now, can anyone see a problem beginning to start here? Oh, it's drying out. What do we need to do? We need to learn more about God. Do we need to learn more about God? Trick. Do we need to try hard to do what God wants us to do? Because we've got to do the right thing. What? We've got to do the right thing, guys. Don't steal, don't kill, come on, you know it. Oh, I've got some shaking of heads. What do we have to do when we get dry? Solution. Thank you, guys. You're awesome. Go wash your hands in water so you don't have water on you. All right. Okay, so come on, guys. If you didn't get into all of that. Okay, so we've got the demo, we've got the mathematical equation, and we've got me just talking away. So if this alone time with God is so awesome and the results are so awesome, why don't we do it? And I don't know why you don't do it, but in 22 years of being a Christian, these are my top 4 excuses. And hopefully you relate to some of them. I don't have enough time. I'm really busy. I'm very important. I'm very busy. I have a lot to do. I'm a mum. I work. I have to do the shopping. I don't do much cooking because Paul's better at that than I am. But I'm very busy. I do a lot at church. You've seen me. I'm very busy. I'm a very busy person. I do a lot for God. I'm very busy. I don't have time to spend alone time with God. Not true. I find that we make time for what's important to us. So if you find that time is your excuse, I wonder how high he ranks. But you know what? We are busy. And something I had to do was I had to actually sit down and say, okay, where are my opportunities? Where are my opportunities in Daina's day to find time with God? And it looked so much different before kids. So this is something I've had to reevaluate fairly recently. I've come up with Tuesdays in my car on the way to work. I drop off the kids, I'm by myself. I've mentioned before I don't close my eyes when I pray in the car. But that is a really good opportunity. But I don't work every day. So that's not going to get me daily alone time with God. Then I came up with early in the morning before the kids get up. Problem is I have a 3-year-old who thinks 6 o'clock is okay. So sometimes that works if he decides to sleep in, but sometimes it doesn't. So then I've got a backup plan, which is first thing when the kids go to bed, which generally works out quite well. But sometimes that doesn't work, so then I have last thing I do before bed, so 10:30ish. My alone time doesn't look the same every day, and that's okay. But I have 4 opportunities in my day to spend time with God. So my question to you is, or maybe my challenge is, actually sit down and think about your typical day and where your opportunities are. Because unless we plan for something, it often doesn't happen. It's just human nature. There's always something else to do. I've always got something else to do. There's always the dishes. There's always something that needs to be done. So plan for it. My next excuse is screen time. I know no one's going to relate to this, but let me talk it out anyway. So we live in this beautiful, amazing world, and we have this blessing today called technology. And it's awesome. And it's great. But it can also be the biggest distraction. And I don't know about you, but I found myself sitting in front of the TV every night, even though I'm just complaining that nothing's on. I don't know why we're watching this. This show's so stupid. Like, seriously, who watches this stuff? Paul, seriously, this is so stupid. Why are we watching this? Screen time. We've got iPads. Now these guys will know better than me. Screens, things with screens on them. Distracting, hands up, can be distracting. Yep, a few of you on your phone talking to a friend right now. Yes, very distracting. Paul and I had to get to the point where we said, okay, what's our plan? And we decided on 4 nights a week would be no TV. That was the biggest one for us. TV, you get to the end of the day, you're tired, you just want to have But it was interrupting our time with God. It was interrupting our time with each other. It's just not as intimate sitting next to someone on the couch watching TV as it is having a conversation with them. Screen time. My third excuse. I've tried it before and it's boring. Seriously, I sat down, I said, God, hi, and I waited and nothing happened. It can be boring. It's boring. It's God business. So let me encourage you, spending time alone with God is a bit like push starting a car. And Rob and the youth have had this experience this year already because my car died out in the car park a while back and we had to push start it. And tell you what, to get that car moving was actually hard work. The brake was off. But once we started, this amazing thing happened. I couldn't actually run to keep up. The car was going faster than I could. I think there's some, is it inertia? Anyone who's scientific? No scientific minds here. Something moving. Easier to keep moving. So my challenge is maybe approach it like that. Don't expect necessarily thunder and lightning and straight away, but just put that time in and get that car moving. Get that time with God moving. Get started. My fourth excuse, I'm actually not really good at this. Some people pray and they sound so good and they use all the right words. I don't know half my words. I definitely don't know how to spell them. I've got problems. But what I've learned is the best way to learn to pray is just to pray. Just get to a quiet place where it's you and God and just talk to him like you would talk to a mate. He already knows what you're thinking anyway. He's not going to be surprised by anything that comes out of your mouth. There's a few different things I've been doing lately which may just help a few of you. But lately I've just been picturing one of the Trinity in my mind. Like in my imagination, I just picture Jesus. And I just get a picture of Jesus. And then I do 3 things. I ask him to give me something. I ask him to tell me something. And then I ask him what he thinks of me. And that might sound really conceited. Why do you need to know what he thinks of you? But the youth and I have been learning about identity. And what we've come to is when you know who God is and you know what God says about you, you know who you are. And that's really hit me. So I say to God, how do you see Daina? Because I know how I see Daina, and I tell you what, I see so many flaws, it's scary. But when God tells me how he sees me, it's amazing. And I feel like it's just a whole new way of seeing things. Sometimes I just wait and sit and I don't even talk. I just let him drop things into my head. Quite amazing. If someone's name pops into my head, I pray for them. I figure he knows I'm praying. He knows I'm having God time. So if he tells me things, then obviously he wants me to do something with them. If something yuck comes up while I'm praying, then I know it's a lie. And I ask God, what's with that? Why am I thinking that? Is there something here we need to deal with? But most importantly, seek God out believing that he is a living, breathing God who wants to interact with you, challenge you and change you for the better. God is calling us to be with him. And he promises the Holy Spirit will always help us figure out this praying business. We aren't in it alone. I'm not even paying attention to my slides. Oh, yeah, it's all right. I'm up to the right one. What would Jesus do? Haha, you thought I wasn't going to talk about the Bible today. You thought I was just going to ramble on. I have found that Jesus had a secret life with God. You know, Jesus wasn't some superhero, some spiritual superhero. He was an example to us about what we could look like if we had a relationship, an intimate relationship with God. And Jesus, you know, you read about Jesus, he's always surrounded by crowds and he's got his disciples with him all the time. And yet there's this one line that I find reoccurring. He withdrew to the lonely places and prayed. If it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. But no one else can make this choice for you. And I particularly look at your youth, because we've been talking a lot about taking responsibility for our own relationship with God. No one else can make me go and spend alone time with Jesus, and if they tried, it would probably not work out too well. How am I going for time, Charles? Oh, is that clock okay now? Oh, thanks. All right. If you're not convinced that alone time with God is something worth pursuing, then let me talk to you through Psalm 23. You know, Ken in that first clip mentioned Psalm 23. God took him to Psalm 23, and that's where I want to finish. Nev introduced our theme for the year, and it was dwell, and he actually referenced this scripture, Psalm 23. Okay, thanks, buddy. Cheers. I didn't have my ring on. That was the problem. And I was reading this the other night. Now I'm going to read this from a Bible called the Lost Sheep Bible. If you haven't got it, it's worth getting. And kids, if you're not looking up on the screen, I'm actually reading from a storybook, which Katie wanted me to tell her when I got to that bit. So, hi, my name is Cecil. I like to sit on my rock and read my Bible. My favourite bit is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You know, David, who wrote this, was a shepherd. If anyone's going to say what a shepherd does or understand what a shepherd does, it should be a shepherd. So David chooses to use the word shepherd when he talks about God. You know, a shepherd provides for and cares for and directs his sheep. And how did David know this? I think he had an intimate relationship with God. I think he had alone time with God. I think he knew God so well, and he understood that God always cared for him and always provided and always directed him. David had a relationship with one God, and God had a relationship with David. When you spend one-on-one time with God, you find yourself living from a place where you know whose you are, and you know that he watches over you and cares for you and keeps you safe no matter what. You know, the second bit there, I shall not want. I love how those words are connected to the first words. I shall not want, because the Lord is my shepherd. I once saw an angel at the foot of our bed. It was on Paul's side. And I said to God, and it was huge, I said to God, what's he doing here? Don't mean to be rude. And God told me that angel's name was Provision. And he was equipped with everything that Paul could ever need or want, and he would always provide it when it was required. You know, God doesn't burden us with things we don't need yet. He's into daily provision. When you spend time alone with God, you soon realise he's got it covered. You know, we're bombarded with messages all the time that say we need all sorts of things. You know, you need the right clothes, you need the right job, you need the right kind of everything. But when you spend time with God, he brings all of those messages into balance. And you know that there's nothing else you need but to trust him. The next part of this poem says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. Now, God's our rest. He's where we find that sense of being fresh and light. He leads us and ensures that we don't become exhausted. The green pastures, or the grassy paddocks, as us Aussies might say, are what nourish sheep. And time with God is what nourishes us and replenishes us. And seriously, how safe do you have to feel to lie down? You have to feel pretty safe to lie down. And that, again, that absolute assurance that God has it. He leads me beside quiet waters. Once again, quiet waters, that sense of peace, that refreshment, that serenity, that satisfaction. You know, when I spend one-on-one time with God, I just feel completely replenished. And that peace is where we're meant to fight from as Christians. That peace is where we're meant to serve from as Christians. That peace is where we're meant to live out our Christian lives from. When we spend time with God, we are ensuring that we are being led by Him. He leads me. He's at the front and we follow. And all the while we follow peaceful. We are meant to do life as peaceful beings. He guides me in paths of righteousness for His... Oh, I skipped one. Did I skip one? No, He restores my soul. So we're all lacking and in some way we've been broken. And here God promises restoration. He strengthens, He restores, He repairs, He revives. He guides me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. To be led or guided means we need to follow. Sometimes God is the only one who knows the right path for us at any particular time. I'm really working through something at the moment because I used to decide what to do based on wrong and right. Sounds sensible, but I realised that it's not enough. It's not enough to know wrong and right. I recently read a story in Sit, Walk, Stand by Watchman Nee, and it said a Japanese woman came across a thief in her house. So she baked him a meal and gave him her keys. And he was so overwhelmed that he immediately believed God was real and became a Christian on the spot. She went beyond wrong and right, and she did what God said to do in the moment. Righteousness is more than just right. It's about God's will for every moment. And you won't know what He's asking you to do or say or where He wants you to be if you don't spend time talking to Him. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. You know, I've heard this read so many times at funerals, but I think this is actually a line for the living, not for the dead. Life is a mixture of great times and crisis and sorrow and everything in between. And I think maybe the valley of the shadow of death might just be those times that are less than pleasant, possibly dangerous when you feel like things are working against you. And you know what I love about this line? It says we're going to walk through them. I don't know about you. Half the time I want to run through unpleasant. I want to bolt as quickly as I can go. And yet He says He's going to help us walk. Walk through unpleasant times, walk through crisis, walk through sorrow. There it is again, that amazing trust that no matter what's going on, it's okay. It's okay, because my shepherd is watching out for me. And I like how it says through the valley, not in forever, through. There will be another side to tough times. For you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I was thinking about this. Like seriously, if you're a soldier surrounded by your enemies, are you going to sit down and have a leisurely evening meal? It's going to be grab and run. I'm going to be grabbing food and shoving it down while I go fight someone. No, I've got a disagreement. You can comment later. There's a section for comments, Ethan. It's okay. So here's that promise, provision, peace, unhurried, without confusion, even in the presence of your enemies. You anoint my head with oil. Now, David, who wrote this, his head was anointed with oil when a pretty awesome guy called Samuel said, God's called you to be king. And I couldn't actually find anything that told me exactly when David wrote this. I don't know whether he wrote it before becoming king or while he was king, but you know what? It didn't matter. David had to remind himself of God's promises over his life. God, you have said, I will be king. You have said that you believe in me and that I, with your help, have what it takes to fulfill this position or fill the position. My cup overflows. So remember the sponge? More than enough. God promises more than enough. And surely goodness and love, some other Bibles state mercy, will follow me all the days of my life. I like imagining those like angels that just follow me around. There's love over there, there's goodness over there, there's mercy, and they just hang with Daina. That'd be all right. They're good mates to have. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You know, when you dwell in other people's homes, you learn pretty quickly what they're like. If you're going to dwell in God's house, you're going to dwell with him, you're going to spend time with him, you'll learn what he's like. Intimate relationship. Oh, it's good. What about you? What about you? What about me? I'm not all there yet, but I am absolutely convinced that my Christian walk is more than knowledge. It's about this connection. And if I miss that, I've missed it. All right.